I Want Games is a crowd-funded series about research and applications of artificial intelligence in video games. If you like my work, please consider supporting the show over on Patreon for early access and behind-the-scenes updates. When creating a video game, we are driven by a desire to craft a fun and interesting experiences for players, to put them in new areas, or reach at familiar ones. Now, sometimes in order to pull that off, we have to treat a little bit. We make tweaks gameplay systems or concessions in how a certain feature is built to reinforce the pillars of the game's design, and this applies just as much to non-player characters. Alien Isolation's Xenomorph that has short-range sensors in the back of its head and a director that always knows where you are. The enemies in Far Cry that become less accurate the more that are fighting you are the demons in Doom that patiently wait their turn to tear you to shreds. It might sound counterintuitive, but by limiting a character's behavior, or giving them knowledge and skills they should not otherwise have, sometimes makes sense in reinforcing the player's experience. And this brings me to Ubisoft's Ghost Recon Wildlands, an open-world action game released in 2017 that has players slowly dismantle the Santa Blanca drug cartel. In this article, I am going to talk about the three AI-controlled non-player characters that work alongside the player when playing Ghost Recon Wildlands offline. Hold, Midas and Weaver. This Ghost Squad needs to be able to respond to player commands and react to the world around them, but also maintain the power fantasy that the game delivers as you stealthily take down entire enemy command posts, or roll in with an attack helicopter and blow everything to pieces. It's an interesting design problem and is arguably one of the most prominent examples in recent memory where an AI frequently cheats, not because it needs to be able to do what you'd expect of it, but because as players we have low tolerance for their failure. The AI squad mates throughout the Ghost Recon series are built to support the player and reinforce the experience of being a covert operative that sneaks into installations and eliminates opposing forces. This includes being able to spawn targets for the player, synchronized kill shots of multiple enemies on your command, as well as holding their own when everything goes loud. Ghost Recon Wildlands takes this premise and blows it up with a massive increase in scale, and this presents a real problem for game designers. Unlike more recent entries such as Ghost Recon Future Soldier, the number of unique circumstances that can arise has grown exponentially, and this is in part due to the systemic gameplay systems that drive weather, patrolling enemies and rebels, civilians and more. Players can attack encampments from any angle they like and approach it using a variety of tools at their disposal. So the AI systems for friendly characters need to accommodate and in some instances relax their rules or outright cheat to support the fantasy that Ghost Recon promises. Now, all character AI in Ghost Recon Wildlands is reliant on a behavior tree system, with the friendly AI running a much more sophisticated system than the enemies. I am not going to focus on the actual behavior tree implementation this time around, but instead explore the design rules enforced and the supporting systems that help control your AI bodies. The body AI in Wildlands was headed up by a small team at Ubisoft Montpellier whose design philosophy put player at the center of all friendly AI behavior, and dictating the systems that were built and how they would operate. This philosophy was built atop three core pillars. All of this is designed to reinforce one rule: to keep players in control of the experience and not feel like the game's systems are not doing what they want them at a certain point in time. In each instance, the player dictates the behavior of this eye characters either directly or indirectly, and in an effort to reinforce the fantasy each of these circumstances creates, either sneaking past the enemy, gunning them down, or reviving us when needed. The friendly eye repeatedly cheats to achieve it, and this requires numerous gameplay systems as well as specific concessions in both the friendly and enemy eye to pull this off, as detailed in Matthias Rowland's 2017 Gaming Off Talk. Teammate management is composed of 3 gameplay systems that drive the Ghost Squad eye. All 3 systems regularly interact with the player through the companion characters and have control over how they behave and operate within the space. So if I was to attack a given base, such as this one in the screenshot above, it's a pretty busy location. There are enemies, vehicles, and no doubt patrols and guard posts set up in the area. As I move closer, the overload system kicks in and starts to identify all enemies within roughly 100 meters of where I am standing. It's not just storing how far away they are, but also whether I and the rest of the Ghost Squad have line of sight on them. Meanwhile, hold Midas, we will sneak up to the base behind me in order to know where to go. My player character is leaving spots on the navigation mesh, like breadcrumbs for these guys to follow. Upon reaching the camp, they take instructions from the Overlord as to how to move through the space. Having gathered all the information it needs about enemy characters in proximity, the Overlord knows what areas of the map the Ghost Squad should not move into so as to not to be spotted. It's at this point one of the team warns me about the chopper overhead, so I need to lie down until it clears. But it does not matter for the squad, because while I am in stealth mode and not spotted, they are invisible to the enemy. The Overlord is helping them appear to look like they are being stealthy, and until I either command them to move into a location where they are then spotted, or I am spotted myself, they will continue to remain invisible. While I have been moving towards the camp, the smart Recon system registers nearby props, such as anti-air defenses and power generators, but also nearby enemies. It grades them based on a perceived relevance, as well as the potential of my being able to take them out. It's at this point I am notified that there's a soldier nearby, but also given some contextual information about where he is and has placed both on my HUD and in the minimap. While it might not fit the reality, given sometimes they call out things they might not actually be able to, it provides a supporting mechanism that prevents me screwing up early on and identify targets and points of interest I might otherwise have missed. However, I opt instead to spot the snipers on the towers and quietly take them out. To do this, we use the sync shot command, where I select up to 3 enemies to be taken out by the ghosts. Now, what makes this interesting is that the sync shots rely on the player being able to mark the target, then the friendly eye being able to take the shot. But sometimes the shot is not actually possible for the eye, and there is a degree to which it will bend the rules to make the shot happen. So perhaps it has to shoot around a corner at times. But if the enemy is in a bunker, and there's no way there could be a line of sight from that angle, the squadmate will tell me they cannot get the shot. Now, having said this, you might be wondering about whether the Ghost Squad can miss. Well, it's impossible for them to miss, because they do not actually shoot them. This is what the Wildlands I team refer to as the magic shot, where the squad pretend to shoot the enemy on your command, and all the enemy I just simply drop that. By simulating the kill shot, it ensures they do not miss and as a result, do not screw up the mission. you in the simplest way possible. So as I move into the base, this process continues. The squad continue to follow the Overlord's rules about where they can stand and where to count more enemies within the base using magic shots. Please, the smart Recon system points out to me the power generator that I had failed to spot during my recon. Having snuck into the base, the teammates slowly begin to follow me inside, with the Overlord assuring they only go through the safer areas that I have established. Not that it matters anyway, because they are invisible. But I decide once inside the base to go loud and make a mess.